What's going on, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up? I'm gonna give everybody a few moments to get in here. What's up, y'all? Y'all need to shave. That's what's most important. What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up? We are here in Chicago, Illinois. And it's cold out here, guys. It's cold, family. It's probably not cold to everybody from up north or the Midwest. What up, Sandra? What up, Mary? What up, everybody? Y'all, it is freezing to me. And I need to shave. Y'all, hit that like button. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. I've been shifting all day. All day. But now I'm in this cemetery. I forgot the name of it. But this is where supposedly Al Capone is buried. So I'm trying to find his grave, and I thought that I would hop on live real quick with y'all while we look for it. And then when I get there, I'm gonna hop off and do a spirit box session for the graveyard shift, then edit it and then play that video later. So this isn't a spirit box. This is y'all helping me find Al Capone's grave. So yeah. What's up, everybody? Let's look. So I was told it's somewhere in this vicinity. But on the way there, it's very windy, y'all, so please forgive me if it's hard to hear. So this cemetery is really, really cool. It's humongous. It has a lot of ornate headstones. And apparently there's a lot of gangsters that are buried in this one cemetery. I'm talking about gangsters that were fighting to the death when they were alive are now literally living in the same resting community. And yes, they said that Al Capone did pass away of neurosyphilis. They said by the time that he passed away, his mind had like reverted back to him being like 12 years old. And he died, I want to say maybe 1 or 2 years after he got out of jail. So at least he was able to die at home with his family. But they said, yeah, he spent his last days with his wife and grandkids. This is Chicago. We're in Chicago, Illinois. And I'm looking for Al Capone's final resting space because I'm going to do a spirit box session there. I don't know. It's very, very windy out here, y'all. This is cool. Yep, this is Chicago, everybody. This is Chicago. So for people that don't know, Al Capone was one of the biggest mobsters in the city. He ran the Chicago outfit. So he actually took control over the mob at the age of 25 or 26. So he was working security. So they say back in the day, Al Capone was, before he joined the mob and was affiliated, he was running security. So he ran securities at brothels. And they say that's where they think that he, got syphilis from. But he was running security for the mob eventually. And then the mob boss ended up going to jail. And Al was put in charge. And they said he ran a pretty tight ship. Everything was running pretty well. The mob boss ends up getting out of jail. But then he ends up getting shot. And he decides to step down. So he asked 25-year-old Al Capone, did he want to run the mob? And Al, being very, very ambitious, he took it on. And he ran the mob for 7 years. Can you imagine being 25 years old and you run the mob in Chicago? You hold one of the largest positions in crime. And this is like around the Prohibition era. That's wild. That's wild. Look at this. They went all out. Oh, someone passed away last year. So the whole family's here. Pat passed away last year. That's a big pinwheel. The Windy City. What up, Darren? What up, Darren? But y'all, the history of the gangsters here in Chicago. I just ended up doing a gangster tour earlier today to get some more history for the videos that I'm doing out here. So I'm gonna get up in the morning and I'm gonna go do a video where John Dillinger was killed. You remember the story? He was killed outside of a theater. Outside of a theater. So I'm gonna go to that theater and see if we can do some box session in the alleyway where he took his last breath. I'm trying to find Al Capone. Okay, I actually saw this one before. I read about this. Okay, Nitto, N-I-T-T-O. What people don't know is this is Frank Nitti. Frank Nitti, born in 1888 and passed away in 1943. His real name is Nitto, but they called him Frank Nitti. He was the mob boss after Al Capone. So an interesting story. This woman here was a lady by the name of Annette. So Annette was she was like a secretary in a building, and she worked for this guy. And while she was going through the paperwork at her job one day, she found evidence that her boss was working with the federal government and the IRS. Like he was an informant. So Annette then reaches out to Frank and lets him know everything that was going on. Frank then lets Al Capone know that he was the subject of an investigation. So what do? They end up killing this lady's boss. And Frank Nitti here end up paying that woman, Annette, $75,000 for her help. But here's the crazy part. He ended up marrying her. So literally this woman, Annette, who was just a secretary who ended up whistleblowing on her boss for being a snitch, ends up turning in her boss for $75,000, getting him killed, then marrying the man responsible for killing her boss. And then she stayed with Frank until the day he died, and then ended up living 40 years later after him. So that's the story of Frank Nitti, literally the second boss after Al Capone. That's crazy, right? It's crazy how people's lives intertwined even way back then. That's wild. I don't know if I could marry a woman that turned in her boss for $75,000. Now you got me looking at you sideways. What if somebody offered you enough money to turn me in for something? You know? How you feel about that? How y'all feel about that? Y'all, look at this. Look at how ornate these headstones are. Look how big this is. This has to be like 20 feet. The Accardo cross has to be 20, 30 feet. Yeah, you know, $75,000 back then was probably a gang of money, you know what I'm saying? So, I get it. But dang. And what's crazy about this resting place, when I tell you literally every mobster in the city is buried here, So are their affiliates. Like, there's people buried here that was like Al Capone's bodyguard. And when he was killed in action, the mausoleum that they put in place for him is humongous. Humongous. There's this one guy that's buried here too. He has a pretty decent mausoleum. But his story was, he was this young lawyer. So he was the middleman for all of the different mob families in Chicago. So he was the one guy that held the peace with everybody. So his job was to squash all the beef amongst all the mobsters. Everybody respected this man. He ended up dying at the age of like 45. I want to say maybe cancer or some natural cause. But they said that this man had, I'm talking about, cars were lined up for blocks at this man's funeral here. They had so many flowers, so many roses. Like, you would have thought the president had passed away. And his whole job was to keep the peace between all of the mob families. And they say literally the day after he died, all hell broke loose. So it's just crazy how like one man could have that much power to hold that much peace. But this is what I came here for. This is who I came here for. The Capone family. You see, the Capone family wasn't even buried here at first. It wasn't until Al Capone's mother passed away that they relocated everyone to this space. So this is the Capone family plot. And I want to say there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 6 to 8 family members resting here. So here you have Ermino John Capone and Mary Capone. You have Ralph Capone. You have the father, who's Gabriel Capone. You have his mother, Teresa Capone. And then right here, you have the infamous Alphonse Al Capone, born in 1899 and passed away in 1947. Al had a lot of names. He went by Scarface, which he hated being called Scarface. They said that as one day he was a bouncer at a nightclub, and he got into it with a woman, and he called her out of her name. He said something very disrespectful, and I think he got into a fight, and someone pulled out a knife and literally slashed the side of his face. So if you go back and you look at photos of Al Capone, you'll see a big scar on the side of his face. And they said he was very insecure about that. So a lot of times when the media or pictures were out, he would always turn to this side. But he received that scar from literally an altercation he had one day as he was a bouncer. So he went by Scarface, he went by Snarky. Snarky was a Snarky was a flashy dresser. So they said that this young man, Al Capone, used to dress nice. The fedoras, the suits, well-tailored suits. Like he was a snarky dresser. But they said the one thing about Al that stood out the most was how charismatic he was and how much he wanted to be in the limelight. So he was one of the few mob bosses that you could definitely see interviews with. He was written in magazines. He literally lived the life of a celebrity. Now, so his body was moved here. His body was moved here. So he wasn't originally buried here. It wasn't until his mother passed away that him and I want to say his father were both moved and buried here. Not Fergie. I've already done that video. There's no spirit box is going to be done. That's for a whole video about him. So I'm going to do a spirit box session, just not on live with him. So yeah, that video is coming. That has to be edited together. I don't want to waste a session that we can't go back and edit and really hear what's going on. So yeah, this is just me trying to find his grave. live. And then, yeah, letting you guys know what's to come. The Capone family, and telling you the story of Frank Nitti. But this video of this session, which I'm about to do in a minute, will come out probably next week. But so far, I would have done Al Capone. We're doing John Dillinger tomorrow morning. I did the old Lake County Jail yesterday. So we have about an hour-long video of us exploring the Lake County Jail, doing spirit box sessions in all the cells where people were murdered. That was yesterday. And I did Babyface Nelson. I did that earlier. I did him earlier. So we got a lot of videos to post, y'all. But I just wanted to take y'all with me as we were looking for the infamous Al Capone. So while I have some light, I'm going to go ahead and jump into doing my spirit box session. But I just wanted y'all to walk with me as I search for Al's grave. But you can see people left cigars. People have left coins. And they even say the reason why this headstone is chipped like this and on the edges, people actually come here and they break off pieces of the headstone as souvenirs. So the irony in like a man that lived a life of crime, people consistently coming and vandalizing his final resting space. They had to clean the headstone. You can kind of see it here. There's red writing in the corner. But I forgot what they said they wrote on there. It's like liar or the devil. They wrote something evil on his headstone. But yeah, everybody has a family. Everyone has people that love them. Thank you for whoever just donated. I appreciate that. But yeah, you know, people gonna always take, you know, I don't know what you would call it, like artifacts. They said when John Dillinger was killed, and we're gonna do that video, I'm gonna film that in the morning early because it's literally on the street in front of a theater. But so I'm gonna try to go early in the morning, maybe like 6, while the street is still empty, to do that spirit box session. But they say when John Dillinger was killed, the moment he hit the ground, like people swarmed him. This is before cell phones, when people would have been taking selfies. They said people was running that man's pockets. They were stealing coins, pieces of his clothes, pieces of his hair. They said ladies got their dresses, the long ball gowns that they would wear back in the day, and they literally would curtsy. So the bottom ring of their dress would be stained in Dillinger's blood as a souvenir. They said men were pulling out their pocket squares and was dipping it in Dillinger's blood so they could have souvenirs. Like, it was crazy. The affection and like, I don't know, just how engulfed into this gangster lifestyle that these people were. These people were celebrities back then. These people were celebrities. But they even said that about Bonnie and Clyde. People don't know that when Bonnie and Clyde were killed, they took the car that Bonnie and Clyde were killed in and they transported it to the hospital. So they left the bodies in the car as they drove it and pulled it on the back of a tow truck. Do you know this tow truck actually broke down right in front of an elementary school while the kids were outside playing? So you have the dead bodies of Bonnie and Clyde laying in this bullet-riddled car that has broken down in front of this elementary school. They said that crowds of people swarmed this car and they was reaching in the car. They was cutting Clyde's hair, Bonnie's hair. Somebody tried to cut off Clyde's finger. They was stealing his like artifacts, bullets out the car from the ground. Like, yeah. Just goes to show that even like 100 years ago, people were still enamored by stuff like that. I don't know, y'all. I'm finna get to shifting. I'm about to knock out this conversation with Al Capone and his family. Be looking out for that video. But I wanted to go live with y'all and show y'all firsthand Frank Nitti, the Nitti family, and Al Capone's resting space. Thank you for walking with me while I search for it. But while I still have light, let me get to the spirit box session, y'all. Love, love, love. We'll have more videos coming real soon.